Today, I will tell you how Spider-Man was able to transform from this into that. Hey, stop! What the hell was that?
Sorry, dude. This is from my personal archive. I don't know how it ended up here.
Okay, let's try again. From this.
Two!
Are you nuts?
I'm sorry, man. I can't help myself.
You're a terrible video editor. I will fire you. Spider-Man is one of the most famous superheroes of Marvel. In total, around 50 games have been released on various platforms. In today's video, I suggest remembering the most significant Spider-Man games and tracing the stages of their development. Our story begins with a game from 1982, developed for one of the most popular consoles of the 80s, Atari 2600. The player controlled Spider-Man and used his web to climb up a building while simultaneously destroying Green Goblin's bombs. Inside the building were criminals who would cut the web, and if the player failed to quickly reattach, the game would end. Once reaching the roof, the player had to disarm the super bomb, after which the game would start again, but with slightly faster enemies. Despite the low, detailed graphics, the red and blue silhouette stood out against the building, allowing the player to feel like a superhero. Therefore, even though the game mechanics were quite primitive, they brought a lot of enjoyment to gamers. And the game itself served as an excellent foundation for future projects from Marvel Comics. The game from 1990, developed by Rare, could boast having a storyline. Supervillains kidnapped Mary Jane, exposed Peter Parker's identity, and started blackmailing him over the phone. Before the start of each level, the player was shown a dialogue in which the main character exchanged pleasantries with the supervillain and learned their location. Throughout the level, the hero had to fight against thugs roaming the streets and popping out of windows, as well as be wary of sewer grates. Spider-Man could engage in fistfights, swing on webs, and shoot from web shooters. Later, 2 sequels were released, which didn't differ much from the original game. The only addition was the introduction of puzzles in the gameplay, which were not very well received by fans of the first installment. The Amazing Spider-Man vs. the Kingpin. This game has pleasant graphics, an interesting storyline, and a multitude of characters from the Marvel Universe. The main villain, Kingpin, holds Mary Jane hostage and threatens to detonate a nuclear bomb within 24 hours. Spider-Man must defeat the supervillains, collect special keys, and stop the city's destruction. An interesting gameplay innovation was the ability to photograph the villains to earn money for replenishing web supplies. There was also a 4-level difficulty system with the most challenging mode, Nightmare, requiring the player to defeat Venom before confronting the level boss. The Sega Mega CD version of the game had various endings depending on the chosen difficulty and the final battle. Thanks to all of the above, the game received high ratings from gaming publications and became beloved by many gamers. Spider-Man and Venom: Maximum Carnage. The first game that allowed players to not only play as Spider-Man, but also as Venom. The storyline revolves around Carnage, who escapes from prison and gathers a family of supervillains. Upon learning this, Venom proposes to Peter to join forces in the fight against their common enemy. They find allies in the form of Black Cat and Morbius and create their own small team. Players could play through levels as different characters, each with their own unique appearance and gameplay. Venom was physically stronger, while Spider-Man had high mobility. The characters also had their own special moves, such as web-slinging and dealing high damage. Unfortunately, the game did not feature a cooperative mode. Despite mixed reviews of the original game, a sequel was released a year later, in which the alliance of Spider-Man and Venom battled new enemies. The new game did not offer anything new, was criticized for its dull gameplay and performed poorly in sales. Spider-Man 2000. In the early 2000s, the rights to develop Spider-Man games were acquired by Activision. The young studio Neversoft was tasked with bringing the superhero into the 3D world. Thanks to this, Spider-Man could crawl on walls and ceilings, swing on webs among skyscrapers, and engage in epic battles with enemies. In addition to visual improvements, the 2000 game combined several unique mechanics: 3D platformer, action-adventure, beat-em-up, and stealth. Each new mission introduced the player to various characters from the Marvel Universe. At the beginning of the game, Black Cat provides training to the player, and in the middle of the story, the hero must fight Venom to save Mary Jane. The original voice actors from the 90s Spider-Man animated series were brought in to provide voices for the game. Despite the success of the original game, its sequel, titled Enter Electro, received mixed reviews and failed to gain popularity among players. Spider-Man, the movie game. The game, which was released simultaneously with the premiere of Sam Raimi's film in 2002, was developed by Treyarch under the umbrella of Activision. The storyline followed the film's plot, and the gameplay remained unchanged since 2000. Fortunately, in the sequel, the developers were able to take a step forward and create a large open-world New York. While the original game had levels set in skyscrapers, it was not possible to freely roam the streets of the city. Whenever the superhero attempted to land, he would perish. Spider-Man 2. In the revolutionary sequel, the superhero no longer shot webs just upwards, but towards skyscrapers, adding realism to the game. Treyarch created a large and alive New York City, unlike the previous games, with empty streets and cardboard houses. That was interesting to explore. Players could traverse walls, use spider sense, slowing down time, and a special radar, aiding navigation in the city. The console version received high praise, unlike the PC version, which lacked an open world and offered a campaign consisting of sets of levels that differed from the film's storyline. Spider-Man 3 was also released, introducing players to the plot of the third film and the Black Suit. The game did not differ much from the second installment, except for the addition of small side quests, such as crime gang elimination and the Venom suit, which provided various bonuses to the player, allowing for more efficient crime fighting in the city. Ultimate Spider-Man. An experimental project with cell shading technology, which creates a comic book effect, is partially based on the eponymous comics and dedicated to new stories of familiar characters. In this universe, Eddie Brock, the future Venom, and Peter are working together to create a symbiote from Spider-Man's DNA. In addition to an open world and the classic abilities of a superhero, players were given the opportunity to play as Venom in certain moments of the storyline. The gameplay for different characters is radically different. Venom cannot shoot webs and moves using powerful jumps. The game was well received by critics and gamers, and the unique storyline received its own comic book series called War of the Symbiotes. Spider-Man: Web of Shadows. Web of Shadows turned out to be a rather dark game. Venom, using a cosmic parasite, decided to subjugate all the residents of New York, resulting in a large part of the population turning into zombie slaves. Even the superheroes couldn't resist the parasite. The game stands out from its predecessors with its huge variety. In addition to moral choices in the plot, which unlock 4 unique endings, players could choose which enemy to fight and who to take as partners on missions. There was also the ability to change the main character's costumes, which had unique attributes. The project turned out to be dark, which is why many gaming publications couldn't fully appreciate it. Spider-Man: Shattered Dimensions. In the early 2000s, Activision directed the Treyarch studio to work on other projects, while the Spider-Man franchise ended up in the hands of the developers at Beenox. In 2010, they released the successful action-adventure game Spider-Man: Shattered Dimensions, which did not feature an open world or variability. The game allowed players to take on the role of one of the 4 unique superheroes. The storyline revolved around the destruction of a mysterious artifact, causing destructive anomalies across different universes. Madame Web asks for the help of 4 different versions of Spider-Man to restore order in their respective worlds. The interesting story and diverse gameplay appealed to most players and received high praise from critics. As a result, a sequel titled Edge of Time was released, which no longer featured the 4 universes. Instead, players were offered the opportunity to play as Ultimate Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2099, with a new mechanic of cause and effect, where actions in one world directly impacted the other. The Amazing Spider-Man. After the reboot of the Spider-Man film franchise, a new game was released in 2012 that tells the story following the events of the movie. Peter and Gwen find themselves in a destroyed research facility and witness the outbreak of a dangerous virus, which infects several guards and Gwen herself as they try to escape. As a result, Spider-Man must find an antidote for the parasite and save the residents of New York City. The main changes in the game include a closer camera angle for a better sense of speed, and the introduction of a PDA, portable computer capable of tracking crimes on the streets of New York and aiding Peter in navigation. The game also features a progression system that allows players to unlock unique combat moves and the Web Rush system, which enables players to reach the most inaccessible areas of the city. Despite being somewhat unremarkable, the game received high praise from critics. With the release of a new film in 2014, a sequel to the game was also launched. However, it received low ratings primarily due to bugs and outdated graphics. Spider-Man 2018. The discussions about developing a game in the Marvel Universe by Insomniac Games Studio began after the successful release of Sunset Overdrive. The developers enthusiastically approached the work on the new franchise under the guidance of Sony. They used the Sunset Overdrive engine as a basis, which was significantly improved and added support for 4K resolution. The game reached a fundamentally new level. In addition to the open world, the developers from Insomniac Games managed to create a truly vibrant New York City. Thanks to a special shader, each room had a unique interior. The combat system became much more diverse. Spider-Man learned parkour and how to use environmental objects in combat. An RPG element was introduced, and as the player improves their skills, new combat abilities become available. There are numerous costumes, bombs, various types of webs, and drones. All of this helps develop one's own tactics in combat. Spider-Man: Miles Morales. Spider-Man: Miles Morales is an exciting game developed by Insomniac Games and released by Sony for PlayStation. It is a continuation of the popular game Spider-Man, in which players can take on the role of Miles Morales, one of the main characters in Marvel Comics. The game features an open world of New York City that comes to life under your control. You will be able to freely navigate the city, use web slinging to traverse, and engage in combat with criminals. With Miles Morales' unique abilities, such as electric powers and web-based tricks, thrilling battles and dynamic fights await you. Exciting missions and tasks await you, which will reveal the depth of Miles Morales' story and his fight against crime. You will be able to level up your skills and enhance your abilities to become a true hero. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is a single-player open-world game in which users control 2 protagonists, Peter Parker and Miles Morales. Both characters navigate the open world of New York City and confront various criminals. Players can acquire additional abilities and Spider-Man suits, and have the ability to switch between the protagonists during free roaming in the open world. However, each of the Spider-Men has their own story and side missions. One of the most significant changes in Marvel's Spider-Man 2 compared to previous games is the size of the map. The map in the new game will be approximately twice the size of the previous games. The game introduces the boroughs of Queens and Brooklyn, which increases the map size by about 2 times. These two boroughs are slightly smaller and represent residential areas, making them distinct from Manhattan. Additionally, the developers have prepared some unexpected situations that were not present before, such as a battle on the river between the two cities. Spider-Man: Mission to the ISS. Spider-Man embarks on an exciting mission to the International Space Station, ISS. During his space journey, Peter Parker encounters an alien mutant that threatens the safety of the crew and the integrity of the station. Peter must use his unique abilities and intelligence to save the ISS and return to Earth. In this thrilling story, Spider-Man faces new challenges and obstacles that he has never encountered before. He must adapt to zero gravity and use his web-slinging tricks and strength to overcome the dangers of space. Spider-Man may also meet other astronauts and work as a team with them to overcome obstacles. The game based on the ISS mission for Spider-Man will provide new and unique gameplay moments, exploration of the space station, and exciting battles with alien threats. This storyline will bring freshness and originality to the Spider-Man gaming universe, and fans will be thrilled to see their favorite hero in a space environment. Unfortunately, this is just my imagination. As of now, in 2024, only DLCs for Spider-Man 2 are expected. But if you could develop your own new game about Spider-Man, what would it be like? Leave a comment. See you later.